So the machine, by the way, of the second user is just screaming. Its fan is, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's annoying me at least. But that'll just play into all of it. You'll wait and see. Anyway, what we've done so far is we built a project in Visual Studio, and we wanted to use source control with it. So we attached it to a Git repository on our local machine, Git being the source control system. And then we pushed it up to GitHub. Now GitHub is what we call a distributed version control system, which makes sense. It's going to be used by many people. And so the full repository is stored both locally on the local machine and up on the hub if we push those changes up there. And so we created the repository and pushed it up to the hub at the same time with the command when we built the project. And then now we've made a change to the project. We added this line here in our index.cshtml file. We have committed that with a little note saying what we did to our local repository, but we have not yet pushed it up to the hub. And again, we saw that in this last video, that it doesn't have that change up here on the hub. And so now we're going to introduce our second user who is going to be working in a team with me on this project. And so I'm going to come up to the GitHub, and I'm going to go in, because any user can download this information currently because it's a public repository. Again, if we're a real company, we're going to pay the money to have private repositories that multiple people can work on. And so, but for now, as poor students, we're not going to do that. And so I come into the settings here, and I'm going to add a collaborator. Now the collaborator, I got to put in my password, so we'll do that quick. And then I haven't invited any collaborators yet, so I'm coming into the collaborators in the settings tab, and I'm going to add someone who is going to collaborate with me on this particular project. And this particular person, great programmer, a little sketchy though. This is Evil Hilton. So I've made Evil Hilton part of the team, and he's going to work with me on this project. And so I'll add him to this repository, which is going to send him an email invitation that he needs to respond to. And so we'll jump over to Evil Hilton now, and he will take us and show us how to load up from a team member's perspective. Hello, I am Professor Hilton's evil twin brother, Evil Hilton. Oh, this is so stupid, I can't do it. Anyway, I'm on my other computer here. This is a Mac, and I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that this is the evil person. Anyway, but I'm using Parallels on the Mac, so I'm running here in Parallels, and so I am the other team member, Evil Hilton. And so I'm going to pull up my email here. I'm going to see I've received an invitation to collaborate on this Git Fun repository. So I'm going to view this invitation, and then I'm going to accept this invitation to be able to be part of, to be able to make modifications. Now again, a public repository, anybody can download and get at, but whoops, something happened there. Let's try that again. View invitation. Let's see if it went through. Accept invitation. Alright, so now I am a collaborator, meaning I can modify the code on this particular repository. And so I'm going to go into Visual Studio, but instead of going in and creating my own project, I don't want to do that. I want to use the project that's already out there. And so there's this option here. Now notice Evil Hilton is in dark mode, so hopefully that helps us to differentiate a little bit. And so there's this option here to clone a repository. And so I can click on this clone a repository, and then I can go out and say, well, where is this repository, right? Now, I can go and look in the original project. Now, rather than switch computers, I'm just going to look and type it in. So if I'm on looking on my other computer, trust me. And in the GitHub, I can go down and click on the little button that says code. So in any repository, we'll be able to see it in a second. But I can bring in this repository by typing out that address, which in this case is going to be, let's go back to Visual Studio, and it's going to be https github.com, and then Prof. Spencer Hilton is my other username, and then it's called getfun.git. That's the name of the project. And so again, I'll show you when I get back to the other computer. It's really tough to jump back and forth the way I'm having to record this. And so I'm going to say, let's clone this repository down to my local machine. And so it goes in, it grabs all that information from the GitHub, and it pulls it down to a local repository, which is then tied to my local machine. And now that it's here, I can see, if I go to this folder view, then I can see now this project that's been created, and specifically, if I go in, I can see the files there, including that index file that I had modified. Now let's take a look though, because if I look at this index file, I'm not going to see the modification. Why am I not seeing it? And the answer is that it was done by the Professor Hilton user on the other machine, and he has committed that change, but he hasn't ever pushed it to GitHub. And so that's why I'm getting the project before we made that change that was sitting up there at GitHub as the evil Hilton user. So let's jump over back to Professor Hilton and have him push those changes there, and you can start to see the problem that could come in. If I have downloaded this and I make changes to this file, but he is also making changes to the file, and neither of us have pushed, and then we push, we're going to get conflicts, and so that's more of what we'll talk about later on. But for now, let's jump back to Professor Hilton and let him push this code so that we can see these changes down in this repository here on Evil Hilton's machine. Again, sorry for the fan noise. Evil Hilton's machine is just cooking. Its fan is on high. So anyway, so we're back to Professor Hilton's machine, and as we look at this, I can see that change there. I can see that I've got one outgoing change that hasn't been pushed, and so notice the button here says push. Now alternatively, we can get there from here, say push. I think there's even somewhere else we can do it. Yeah, down here we can say push. There's lots of different ways, we can push this code, but ultimately we're going to take and push this up to the origin master, which is up there on GitHub. Alright, so that change is there. Now I'm going to go through and make a few more changes because I want to point out a few more things. And so I'm going to come into and just clean up our code like we've done in some of the other projects. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff that we're not going to use in this particular project. So I'll get rid of that. I'll get rid of these extra methods that we're not going to use. So that's all kind of cleaned up. Save that. I'm going to come into my models. I'm going to delete this error model view.cs file. Get rid of this privacy view. Get rid of these validation scripts and error views. Delete each of those. And then maybe I'll clean up the layout like we've done and get rid of this header and that information. So I'm just kind of cleaning up this project. So I saved that. Now notice I just went in and made all those changes. And this is one of the things that's really cool, is these changes are being tracked. And so I can see here I've got 7 changes that have occurred, and it shows me each of them. I can go into the detail and say, well, what happened with the home controller? It shows me, just so cool, what was changed in the files, right? And then it shows me that this one was just deleted, right? And another cool thing, if I said, oh shoot, I didn't actually mean to delete the private, I can undo, and it pops it back in. If I go to my Solution Explorer, it pops it back in, And now I can see that that file, which one was it? I don't even know which one it was. Was it in the layout file? I don't even know what I just did. Wasn't it the error? Error, undo. So then I get yeah, this error view's back. Okay, I don't know what I did the first time. I deleted that. All right, so as I look at this now, I've got these files that I have these changes that have been occurred. So I must have done something with the layout. Oh no, it's saying what changed there. Okay, so it's showing that. Perfect. So now I can just say something like, before I do this commit, I can say cleaned up the project and commit that, which will then go up to go to my local repository. Those changes are committed, and I can come in and look at the history and see that that happened, but it hasn't been pushed yet, so I'm going to push that up to GitHub. All right, well, the other thing I just realized, because I'm going back and forth and I'm intersplicing these videos, it's going to be tough to keep track of my 10-minute mark. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop there and hope I'm somewhere close. And then I got to come up with some sort of system to devise to know how long each of these videos are. Spencer out.